भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं च नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं प्रापतसेवया भगवति उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 8, the sons of Sagarmara meet Lord Kapiladeva. Text number 21 onwards. So yesterday we studied how Anshuman, the grandson of Sagarmara, he went to the ashram of Kapil Muni looking for his uncles and the horse, but he got the horse. Then he was looking for his uncles and then he went to the ashram of Kapil Muni. Anshuman uvacha na pashyati tvam parmatmano ajano na buddhyate atyapi samadhi yuktibhi kuto apare tasya manah shariradhi visarga srishta vayam prakashaha. Anshuman said, my lord, even Lord Brahma is to this very day unable to understand your position, which is far beyond himself, either by meditation or by mental speculation. So what to speak of others like us who have been created by Brahma in various forms as demigods, animals, human beings, birds and beasts? We are completely in ignorance. Therefore, how can we know you, who are the transcendents? So this was Anshuman's prayers. And before that, his 60,000 sons of Sagar Maharaj, they disrespected Kapil Muni and they died. But Anshuman is giving full respects and praying to Kapil Deva. And he said, who can know you? Even Brahmaji cannot know you. How can we know you? Prabhupada says, Ichhadve Samuthena, Ocean of Bharat Arjun, the conqueror of the foe, all living entities are born into delusion, overcome by the dualities of desire and hate. All living entities in the material world are influenced by the three modes of material nature. Even Lord Brahma is in the mode of goodness. Similarly, the demigods are generally in the mode of passion. Living entities lower than the demigods, such as human beings and animals, are in the mode of ignorance or in mixed goodness, passion, and ignorance. Therefore, Anshuman wanted to explain that because of his uncles who had been burned to ashes, were under the modes of material nature, they could not understand Lord Kapil Deva. Because we are beyond even the direct and indirect intelligence of Lord Brahma, he prayed, unless we are enlightened by your Lordship, it will not be possible for us to understand you. So this is the right way to approach the Lord. Even when we approach him in the deity form, we cannot know him, we cannot understand him. We cannot understand his activities. No way. And this is what Brahmaji also prayed to the Lord in 10th canto. My Lord, if one is favored by even a slight trace of the mercy of your lotus feet, he can understand the greatness of your personality. But those who speculate to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead are unable to know you, even though they continue to study the Vedas for many years. So only by the mercy of the Lord. And who gets the mercy? One who is engaged in devotion service. The Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, can be understood by one who is favored by the Lord. The Lord cannot be understood by others. Text 22. Ye dehe bhaja stri gun pradhana gunan vipashyanti yutva tamascha yanamaya mohita cheta sastvam vidhu swa sanstham na bahi prakasha. My Lord, you are fully situated in everyone's heart, but the living entities covered by the material body cannot see you, for they are influenced by the external energy, conducted by the three modes of material nature. Their intelligence being covered by Satagun, Rajagun, and Tamagun, they can see only the actions and reactions of these three modes of material nature. Because of the actions and reactions of the mode of ignorance, whether the living entities are awake or sleeping, they can see only the workings of material nature. They cannot see you, your Lordship. So unless one is situated in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, one is unable to understand the Supreme Personality of God. The Lord is situated in everyone's heart, however, because the conditioned souls are influenced by material nature. They can see only the actions and reactions of material nature, but not the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One therefore must purify himself internally and externally. Apavitrava, pavitrava, sarvavasthan gato pina. To keep ourselves externally clean, we should bathe 3 times daily, and for internal cleanliness, we must cleanse the heart by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. The members of the Krishna consciousness movement must always follow this principle. Bhaya abhyantara shuchihi. Then it will one day be possible to see the personality of the Supreme Personality of God face to face. And just remember, this 9th canto is a prelude to the 10th canto, where Krishna's pastimes, Krishna's appearance, Krishna's dealing with his devotees, it will all be explained. So this is to make us understand that just by reading Krishna book of 10th canto, we cannot understand Krishna. We have to be purified enough that, and then we beg him that please, you make me realize, or you make me understand your glories, your pastimes, so that I don't mistake them. Tam tvam aham jnana ghanam svabhava pradhvastat maya guna bheda mohe sananda nadyar munibhir vibhavyam katham vimudha paribhav vyami. O my Lord, sages freed from the influence of the 3 modes of material nature, sages such as the 4 Kumaras, Sanat, Sanak, Sanandan, and Sanatan, are able to think of you, who are concentrated knowledge. But how can an ignorant person like me think of you? The word Svabhava refers to one's own spiritual nature or original constitutional position. When situated in this original position, the living entity is unaffected by the modes of material nature. Sagunam samditya. As soon as one is freed from the influence of the 3 modes of material nature, he is situated on the Brahman platform. Vivid examples of personalities that are situated are the 4 Kumaras and Narad. Such authorities can by nature understand the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But a conditioned soul not freed from the influence of material nature is unable to realize the Supreme. In Bhagavad Gita, therefore, Krishna advises Arjuna, Traigunya Vishya Veda. One must rise above the influence of the 3 modes of material nature. One who stays within the influence of the 3 material modes is unable to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we are so much covered by the 3 modes of material nature. It's Prabhupada clearly saying he is unable to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So those people who somehow they get a chance to read Bhagavad Gita, first of all, not with the devoted mind, but with the critical mind, with all their doubts and no faith at all, they read Bhagavad Gita and they think they have understood Krishna. Bhagavad Gita is non-different from Krishna. It's the words of Krishna, non-different from Krishna. It is as transcendental as the Supreme Lord. How in the world anybody within completely covered by the 3 modes can understand even a word of Bhagavad Gita? Krishna himself says, approach a spiritual master. Approach a self-realized spiritual master and understand the truth. So it's just impossible, completely impossible. Prashant Maya Guna Karma Lingam Manama Rupam Sat Sat Muktam Jnanopadeshaya Grihita Deham Namamahe Tvam Purusham Puranam. O completely peaceful Lord, although material nature, fruitive activities, and the consequent material names and forms are your creation, you are unaffected by them. Therefore, your transcendental name is different from material names, and your form is different from material forms. You assume a form resembling a material body just to give us instructions like those of Bhagavad Gita, but actually you are the supreme original person. I therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Srila Yamunacharya has recited this verse in his Stotra Ratna. Bhavantam evanuchara nirantara prashanta nishesha manorathantara kadaham ekantika nitya kinkara praharshe shyami sanatha jivitam. By serving you constantly, one is freed from all material desires and is completely pacified. When shall I engage as a permanent, eternal servant and always feel joyful to have such a fitting master? By serving you constantly, nirantara, then surely one day mind will be pacified. Means no more material desires. Manorathe nasati dhavato bahi. One who acts on the mental platform must descend to material activities. Material contamination, however, is completely absent from the Supreme Personality of Godhead and is pure devotee. Therefore, the Lord is addressed as Prashanta, completely peaceful, free from the disturbances of material existence. The Supreme Lord has no material name or form. Only the foolish think that the Lord's name and form are material. Avajananti mamura. The identity of the Supreme Lord is that he is the original person. Nonetheless, those who have but a poor fund of knowledge think that the Lord is formless. The Lord is formless in the material sense, means he has no material qualities, but he has a transcendental form. Satchidananda Vigraha. Very, very difficult, almost impossible to understand. Tvanmaya rachite loke vastu buddhya grihadishu brahmanti kama lobher lobhare yashyam moh vibhranta chetasa. O my Lord, those whose hearts are bewildered by the influence of lust, greed, envy, and delusion are interested only in false hurt and home in this world created by your Maya. Attached to home, wife, and children, they wander in this material world perpetually. So we all have, our hearts are bewildered by the influence of what? Lust, greed, envy, and delusion. We're completely into all this. Completely. And how difficult it would be to get out all this lust. No more lust. Lust means not just physical, not just in these days whatever lust is. Lust means just to enjoy our senses separately from Krishna. Greed, envy. How much envy we have in our heart? Plenty. Illusion. We are completely illusioned. So how can we know him? Adya na sarva bhutatman kama karmendriyashaya mohapasho dirlaschinno bhagwanstav darshanat. O super soul of all living entities, o personality of God, simply by seeing you, I have now been freed from all lusty desires, which are the root cause of insurmountable illusion and bondage in the material world. Shri Shukvacha. Itham Gita Anubhavastam Bhagwan Kapilo Muni Anshu Mantam Uvachedam Anugrahaya Dhyan Nripa. O King Parikshit, when Anshuman had glorified the Lord in this way, the great sage Kapila, the powerful incarnation of Vishnu, being very merciful to him, explained to him the path of knowledge. Shri Bhagwan Uvacha Ashvayam Niyatam Vatsa Pita Maha Pashustava Imecha Pitaro Dagdha Ganga Bho Arhanti Netarata. The personality of Godhead said, "My dear Anshuman, here is the animal sought by your grandfather for sacrifice. Please take it. As for your forefathers who have been burnt to ashes, they can be delivered only by Ganges water and not by any other means." Tam parikramya shirasa prasadya hai maniyat sagarastena pashuna yagya shesham samapayat. Thereafter Anshuman circumambulated Kapil Muni and offered him respectful obeisances, bowing his head. After fully satisfying him in this way, Anshuman brought back the horse meant for sacrifice, and with this horse, Maharaj Sagar performed the remaining ritualistic ceremonies. Rajam Anshumateniyasya nihispriho mukta bandhana orvopadishta margena leve gatim anuttamam. After delivering charge of his kingdom to Anshuman and thus being freed from all material anxiety and bondage, Sagar Maharaj, following the means instructed by Orva Muni, achieved the supreme destination. So he gave his kingdom to Anshuman because he was the most qualified person. And Sagar Maharaj, he left and he followed his guru and achieved the supreme destination. So thus ends Bhaktivedanta purport of 9th canto, 8th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Sons of Sagar Meet Lord Kapil Dev. So see, as we know, Lord's name is very purifying. So Lord Kapil Dev, so anybody who even sang or chanted or heard the name of our cricketer, Kapil Dev, he gets also benefited because after all, it's the name of the Lord. So this is the benefit of naming our children after the Lord. So let's start the 9th chapter, the dynasty of Anshuman. So again, there are hardly any purports in there. So we'll just go through the translations fast. Text 1. Shukdev Goswami continued, King Anshuman, like his father, King Anshuman, like his grandfather, performed austerities for a very long time. Nonetheless, he could not bring the Ganges to this material world, and therefore, in due course of time, he died. Text 2. Like Anshuman himself, Dilip, his son, was unable to bring the Ganges to this material world, and he also became a victim of death in due course of time. Then Dilip's son, Bhagirath, performed very severe austerities to bring the Ganges to this material world. So all this while, so many generations, but the ashes of the forefathers, they were still there. Darshayamastam Devi. Thereafter, Mother Ganges appeared before King Bhagirath and said, I am very much satisfied with your austerities. I am now prepared to give you benedictions as you desire. Being thus addressed by Ganga Devi, Mother Ganges, the king bowed his head before her and explained his desire. The king's desire was to deliver his forefathers who had been burned to ashes because of disrespecting Kapila Muni. Mother Ganges replied, when I fall from the sky to the surface of the planet Earth, the water will certainly be very forceful. Who will sustain that force? If I am not sustained, I shall pierce the surface of the earth and go down to Rasatal and the Patal area of the universe. Text 5. O king, I do not wish to go down to planet Earth, for the people in general will bathe in my water to cleanse themselves of the reactions of the sinful deeds. When all these sinful reactions accumulate in me, how shall I become free from them? You must consider this very carefully. So it's not just a mythical story that when we bathe in Ganges, our sinful reactions are gone. She takes away all our sinful reactions. It is mentioned in the scriptures, and definitely this happens. But first of all, we have to have faith. And then secondly, we should not commit sinful reactions again after bathing in Ganges. The Supreme Lord says, purport, Sarva dharman parityaja mam ekam sharanam vraja. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. The Supreme Personality of Godhead can accept the reactions of anyone's sinful deeds and neutralize them because he is pavitra, pure, like the sun, which is never contaminated by any worldly infection. One who is very powerful is not affected by any sinful activity. But here we see that Mother Ganges fears being burdened with the sins of the people in general who would bathe in her waters. This indicates that no one but the Supreme Personality of Godhead is able to neutralize the reactions of sinful deeds, whether one's own or those of others. Sometimes a spiritual master, after accepting a disciple, must take charge of that disciple's past sinful activities, and being overloaded must sometimes suffer, if not fully, then partially, for the sinful acts of the disciple. Every disciple, therefore, must be very careful not to commit sinful activities after initiation. The poor spiritual master is kind and merciful enough to accept a disciple and partially suffer for that disciple's sinful activities. But Krishna, being merciful to his servant, neutralizes the reactions of sinful deeds for the servant who engages in preaching his glories. Even Mother Ganges feared the sinful reactions of people in general and was anxious about how she would counteract the burden of these sins. So, Prabhupada writes a very powerful purport. Even Gans, so the Supreme Lord can take anybody's sinful reactions and burn them. What's so difficult for him? But the spiritual master also accepts the sinful activities or deeds or karmas of his disciples, and he burns them. But sometimes he also gets affected. And so that's what Prabhupada said, but Supreme Lord, being merciful to his servant, he neutralizes the reactions of sinful deeds for the servant who engages in preaching his glories. So very, very important for us to be always engaged in preaching his glories, his message, his desire to bring the conditioned souls to his lotus feet. And if we do that, then Krishna, being very merciful, especially to such preachers, he neutralizes the reactions of sinful deeds. So we all have committed plenty of sinful deeds, plenty of them. Every lifetime, we have committed tons and tons of them. So by engaging in devotional service, especially the preaching service, now preaching could be anywhere, engaging in Sankirtan, which is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instruction, and Sankirtan Prabhupada gave new meaning to Sankirtan, chanting of the holy names, congregation chanting of the holy names, prasadam distribution, book distribution. This is all Sankirtan. And this is preaching. If we engage in that, Krishna definitely neutralizes the reactions so that we don't have to suffer. Or even if we suffer only, he gives us only a token suffering, not the full suffering. So that basically idea is that we make progress in this lifetime only. So we just have to get serious about our devotion service, more sincere in preaching, sincere in our sadhana, and just make progress, tremendous progress. So I guess I'll stop here because Shri Bhagirath will start speaking from next words, and we'll take it up tomorrow and see anybody has any questions or comments. Okay, so we'll stop here. You all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri.
Hare
Hare